conduct what they call qualitative class.
Oh.
If for PhD. It's quite what do you call, if you want to have it during this COVID MCO, so you cannot have a practice doing a few data collection.
Yeah,
That's
that's right.
because my class is a hands-on class. For example, if you want to conduct focus group discussion, how to conduct. So you all can do the role play. Then so I give you comment
In the class.
in the class.
Yeah.
There are few tools, few tools or instrument in qualitative, in-depth interview, even face-to-face in-depth interview. So normally you are given one title of, let's say you want to study one topic, and then you come up with your guideline of question that your friends that you want to interview, they don't know. Let's say Moon want to interview Azhar, for example. So Moon is the only person that know what are the question like, and Azhar, you don't know what Moon is going to ask. So there is a free flow of interview. So you can see how Moon his his style of asking question. That's where you can learn the technique of probing technique. Did you probe? How much you probe? Are you a good listener? Those kind of stuff. I did that. I teach that. But to have those kind of very interactive session on like this, Zoom or Webex online is quite difficult. Difficult, very difficult to me. Difficult in the sense that you cannot experience it there and then. For example, the focus group discussion, how you can control the group. There are so many jokers, you asking question, they are also having a chit chat. You are their friend behind there, those kind of stuff. How to control it? So a bit challenging lah. It's not easy actually to run a class like this. Well, I'm very lucky this semester I teach you this one. This one, yeah, we can go on online, but not to transfer skills. Yeah, you need that because you're going to do your work going to go to the field. Yeah. Another one, a technique. Well, you have heard about brainstorming. That is quite easy. The nominal group technique. It's very interactive. Nominal group technique. As though your friend is your respondent. Yeah. How you control them. You act on your natural behavior. So it's not what did I say in my class? You behave like your normal character, not in class. So you can see all these jovial things, and then at the end of the class we have a teh tarik, So enjoy. It's to me it's enjoyable class. Iklan for next semester kalau mengajar.
Mun boleh.
But I don't know lah. I've not teaching that one for quite some time.
So join with the class Mahindra.
You join my class, Amal, isn't it?
Qualitative?
No.
I dropped the class with Professor Sarjit, Prof.
Yeah, I know. You didn't manage to join my class, on qualitative?
Not yet, because it is not posted.
All right. Okay, everybody is in already. Who is my PC? Oh, Moon. Apa ni?
Emily,
Novi. Emily.
Novi.
Cantik Novi hari ni.
Itu baju, masya Allah, dah raya kah Novi ni?
Dah raya dah. Tak balik Sabah, Novi. Tak dengar dia.
Ya. Nanti saya cek dia.
Alright, can we start now? So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much to organize this meeting or session. I hope Mahindra, you record our class today. So today we are very fortunate to have one presenter, Mahinda. He will be giving us a talk, on one topic that is conflict approach in community development. As usual, we'll give Mahindra 2 hours to give a talk, and then during his delivery, you can disturb him, but it's better to mute our system so that we can hear clearly from Mahinda voice. Okay, okay, Mahindra, leave it to you.
Okay, thanks, our professor. So first of all, I would like to welcome dear Prof and my dear friends. Today I'm going to discuss understanding conflict approach in community development. So this approach is so important in community development context, as we are the community workers or extension workers. We need to clear idea about the conflict approach and what we mean about the conflict approach, or definition of conflict, and what are the assumptions behind of the conflict approach, and how to behave this conflict in the community development, as well as what are the conflict management strategies to minimize or to maintain conflict in the community development. So I think this is the most important approach in our community development context. So today I'm going to discuss this kind of factors based on my presentation, especially what mean by conflict and what are the assumptions and how to behave the conflict, as well as what are the strategies how we can maintain our conflict in community development. So first we will discuss to conflict, as we know what is the community development. So community development is the process two or more people engage with together, share their norms, values, and behaviors to achieve their common goals and enhance their living condition. So in this context, conflict is most important, because if two people or more people work with together, conflicts already arise. So what do you mean by conflict? So conflict is a disagreement between ideas, feeling, and action, and it is resolved often angry argument. As an example, there may be a conflict between Amar and me, because both of us, we have different ideas, feeling, and action. So me and Amar are going to complete one action, but we have different ideas. So the different ideas, feeling, and action is created the disagreement. So what is the final result is angry argument between us. So this is so important in community development. So next one, a conflict being an outcome of behavior and integral part of human life. So it exists everywhere human beings are living, as well as every kind of conflict is leading to violence among the people of community. So as a community worker, we are unable to manage the conflict. It is moved to the violence. So it is not good. If conflict become a violence, it is given huge hazards or huge damage to our community. Then as an extension worker or community worker, we should try to manage the conflict in our community. Next one is conflict in a community should be expected and it is a potential fruitful activity. So actually traditional definition of conflicts, they thought already conflict was given bad result to the community, but it is not true. Conflict is given either positive or negative result to the community. So we should have the ability to minimize those negative things and use positive things in conflict to complete fruitful activity in our community. Next one is conflict in communities is everywhere or all over the place. So we discussed in early, if two people or more people work together, it arise conflict everywhere or every places. So based on these ideas, conflict are most important in community development field. So there are three assumptions of conflict approach. Number one, between individual or groups, conflict emerge from having opposing interest or completing for limited resources. As we know, in the society there are limited resources, but human beings need to more resources. So based on this concept, every human beings try to consume limited resources. So then it arise conflict. As well as we have our opposing interest. As example, me and Amar or Moon, we have different interest. So when we are working together, this interest may be conflict around us. Number two assumption is struggle and conflict typically lead to some groups and individual controlling and dominating others. And that patterns of subordination and domination are self-perpetuating. So that means the society has different groups. Some groups, they have more power, more wealth, and they have more social recognition. As well as some group of people, they are not enough powers, they are poor, they are violent, and they are voiceless as well as vulnerability. So this situation is created different social level. As example, rich person, poor person, or powerful person, powerless person, as well as employer or employees, based on this assumption. Three assumption is dominant groups disproportionately influence resources allocation and social structures. So in our society, there are two groups. One groups are domain groups, others are they haven't too much of power. So dominant groups always try to influence other groups to allocate resources. They don't like to give their powers to others, or they don't like to decentralization their powers with others, as well as they try to maintain their powers in the social structure to protect their powers and their values. So based on these three assumptions, we can understand what is the conflict in community level. So next, as we know, there are three themes in the community development, like it is given this self-help approach, technical assistance approach, and conflict approach. These three approaches are so important in community development. We call three major themes of the community development. So we have already discussed self-help approach as well as technical assistance approach by the Amar and Emily. Today I am going to discuss conflict approach in community development, as well as later Moon will discuss empowerment approach in community development. So what is the definition of conflict in community development? There are so many definitions. So in here I add few definitions. So number one is conflict is an incompatible action between two or more people. It exists when the action of one person or group interfere with or prevent the action of another person or groups. So already we discussed this one. If we have incompatible action between two people or more people, it arises conflict. As we discussed in early, me and Amar, we have incompatible action, then it is create conflict among both of us. As well as the perception of incompatibility play out in cognitive, emotional, and behavioral actions. So that one's own need, wants, interest, and value are incompatible with someone else. So all of us, we have our own cognitive, emotional, and behavioral actions. It is different from each other. Then if we are going to work with together, those cognitive, emotional, and behavioral actions are maybe incompatible, and it creates the conflict among us. Next one, conflict is predictable social phenomena and it should be channeled to useful purposes. As well as community leaders is not to eliminate conflict but to use it, because as well as community workers and extension workers, we should have the ability to use conflict in our working area, because we can't eradicate or eliminate. We can only use it. Next one is conflict as a process rather than an event. So it can only be managed, because we know conflict is process. So we can manage it. So what are the reasons behind of the conflict in the community development? There are so many reasons behind of that. We call source of incompatibility. So if those factors are compatibility among us, it is not arise the conflict. So what is the reason is those reasons or factors are incompatibility, and it creates the conflict among us or among the community. So what are the sources of incompatibility? Number one is lack of resources. So you know, in the society we have limited resources, then human beings are trying to use those limited resources, and it arises conflict among of that community. Next one, intensity of disagreement. So we have our own agreement, but if we are going to work or community is going to work, if they have disagreement between them, it moves to the conflict situation. The third one is perception of inappropriateness. So we have our own perception, but if it is inappropriate with others, it also creates the conflict. Next one is imperfect communication. This is the most important reason in conflict area, because imperfect or improper communication create lot of conflicts among the community. So last week our prof explained well about two-way communication, as example top to bottom or bottom to top. So this two-way communication is not practiced in a lot of communities. Normally they are practicing one-way communication, and they always pass the imperfect idea among the community. So it is directly affect with the create of conflict and at a particular society or community. Other thing is the damage the relationship and history of social, political, cultural domains of the community. So these three domains are so important. As example, in our country, Sri Lanka, we had 30 years conflict between two ethnic groups. We call Sinhala and Tamil war. We had 30 years conflict. So it is generally give idea about the conflict between two ethnic groups, but actually root cause is political involvement, because lot of political people, they want to protect their position, and they try to maintain the conflict, as well as health, environmental, land, transport, and education problem also created a lot of conflict among the community. So migration also create a lot of conflict among the community. Nowadays, you have more experience due to war or conflict between the countries. A lot of people move from one country to other countries, and they are try to settle in the new place, and it is also create conflict situation among the community. So normally political, religious, economics, and ethnics are the topmost major reasons of conflict. So this kind of reasons directly or indirectly affect to arise the conflict in our community. So next, shall we discuss what are the conflict domains or conflict territory? So there are three kind of conflict domains: physical, social, and psychological. So what is the physical domains of conflict? So normally it is one party's use of the resources threatened, another party's access to or use of the same or neighboring resources of property. So this is mainly based on the physical resources. So as we know, physical resources are limited. Then if we are going to utilize those resources, it creates the conflict. As an example, conflict between farmers and urban dwellers for a land use, as well as two farmers or among the farmers, they have conflict when we are going to use land, water, fertilizer, or other planting materials. So next one is social. So it is basically given two types: formal domains and informal domains. Normally we are the social animal. So we are living in the society or community. We have a lot of rules and regulations. Some are some rules given the legally, some are illegally. So it is made up all the right assigned to individual or particular roles. So formal domains, it is through social institutions. So example, in our professional life, we have written duty description. So it is given direction how we should work in our working life. So if we are damaged those rules and regulation, it is created the conflict. As well as next one is informal domains. It is unwritten one, but it is very clear in the social. So as example, we are offering our seat to elderly riders on the crowded bus. So we have lot of regulation, how we treat our elderly, how we treat our children. So those are the informal domains in the social uh, field. So if those things may be damaged, it creates the conflict. Next one is psychological domains. It is belief and values of individuals in community. When something challenge stakeholder belief and values, it become a conflict based on the psychological domains. So as example, me and Amar, we have our own values and beliefs. So when I am going to challenge or damage to Amar belief and values, it is create conflict between me and Amar. Normally, normally people try to protect their domains. So sometimes these three kind of domains may be damaged, then it arise conflict. So next, what are the conflict arenas? So what do you mean by conflict arenas? So conflict arena are the function of the parties involved in the conflict. Conflict in a community development context can take place in any of these five arenas. What are the five arenas? Interpersonal, intergroup, interorganizational, intercultural, and international. Who are the parties involved into conflict arenas? These are the individual, groups, organization, and government. Government capable to making decisions directly or indirectly related to the conflict. So these are the so important when we are going to understand the conflict. So simply we can show like this. Conflict arena, there are five: interpersonal, intergroup, interorganizational, intercultural, and international, as well as parties involved in conflict. There are four parties: individual, group, organization, and government. So shall we discuss who are the parties in conflict? Parties in conflict can be considered either primary or secondary parties. So there are two types of parties based on their involvement. So what is the primary party? Who are the directly involved in the conflict? We call primary parties. Their interest, aspiration, or needs are being directly affected with the interest, aspiration, or needs of the parties. It interact directly with one another to resolve the conflict. They may also interact directly with one another through agent. Example, legal officers. Some community-based organization, they have legal officers to work legal activities. Next one, secondary parties. They are not interacting with other parties either directly or through an agent. Secondary parties are represented in the conflict by primary parties or their agent. So as example, in the community level, farm organization, they have planned to construction community centers. Then they decide to give the construction part for a third party. So this third party we can call as a secondary parties. So shall we discuss what are the conflict arena? We have discussed five conflict arenas. Number one, interpersonal conflicts. So conflicts between two individuals having competition for achieving scarce things such as status, power, position, promotion, or resources. It is significantly at the community level are manifested between people with influence or authority within a community. Interpersonal conflict have their root at the interpersonal level but expand at the intergroup, organizational, or intercultural level. So let me give you an example. Conflict between two community members over the placement of leader of the community-based society. Next, intergroup conflict. Main resources is communication barriers and breakdown in networks linked to organizational structure. It refers to the collective incompatibility or disagreement between two or more division, departments, or subsystem in connection with tasks, resources, information, and so on. Also, group may have a multiple city of members, each of whom is an independent actor. As example, conflict among several departments of our institute. So we have more experience in our institute. There are different departments such as project planning department and financial department. So among this department maybe arise some conflict. Next one is water management conflict. So agriculture water is used for non-agricultural purposes. In this point, the conflict arises between agricultural community and non-agricultural community. So it can be categorized under the inter-group conflict. Next one is inter-organizational conflict. It has many of the same characteristics as intergroup conflict, but the institutional environment shapes the context play out. Conflict or high level of competition that is developed between organizations called as inter-organizational conflict. Inter-organizational conflict is quite common in community development. Conflict can exist among government agencies, non-profit organizations, and for-profit firms, even they work toward the same general goals. As an example, conflict between two supermarket companies to promote fresh fruit and vegetable to similar customers. So these two supermarket companies are trying to promote their products for a similar customer. And in this context, it is create the conflict under the inter-organizational conflict. Next one, intercultural conflict. So what do you think about intercultural conflict? It is commonly considered among people of different nations, nationalities, or ethnicities. Cultural characteristics differ among people of different professions, religions, places, or residence, such as rural or urban, economic and political status. Its terms culture can be defined as the enduring norms, values, customs, and behavioral patterns common to particular group of people. So as an example, homosexual marriage, it is not accepted all kind of cultures, but some people like to homosexual marriage. Then if it is happen, it creates the big conflict among those cultural group. Next one, religious mismatching between the different religious community, because in the community people who are living with represent different religion. So we should protect those cultural. If not, it creates the conflict among the people under the intercultural conflict. Next one, international conflict. It involves conflict across nations. That means between countries. As an example, Kashmir war between India and Pakistan in Asian continent. So we know Kashmir is the place between India and Pakistan. The both countries are trying to attack to protect their land. The last water conflict between Egypt and other neighboring countries in the African continent. So you know the Nile River is passing through different countries. So those countries are trying to use the maximum water. Then it's created the conflict among those nations. So, what is the conflict scale or level of conflict scale? The scale of conflict is defined by the number of parties involved and the complexity of the issues. The scale of conflict can be categorized in two types. Number one, simple scale. A community conflict can involve just only two people in conflict over a single issue. Example, between two community members over the placement of a leader of the community-based society. So they have one placement of leader in the community society, then two peoples are fighting to win this leadership. Number two, complex scale. Two or more people are involved as well as covering more issues. Community conflict typically include multiple parties and complex overlapping the issues. As example, when we are going to implement new organic vegetable farming in the agriculture field, especially in the paddy farm, then it's created a lot of conflicts involved with different parties such as vegetable farmers, paddy farmers, other farmers, neighborhoods, business owners, and different government institutes. So in this context, we can categorize as a complex scale of the conflict. So next one is conflict venue or place. So community development conflicts play out in a number of venues such as unofficial and official. So what is the unofficial venue? Include pre-development conference between planners, builders, stakeholder meeting converted by government agencies and mediated forum organized by community group. Especially some meetings may be conducted in the community level. We can categorize as unofficial venue. So what is the official venue? Include planning board, city council, council commissioners, state legislators, and the court. Some decision may be taken by the legal background. So at that time, we need to move for a legal decision. Then we can categorize as an official venue. So stage of community conflict, basically we can divide into three stages such as build-up stage, high conflict stage, and new build-up stage. So let's move to the build-up stage. This is the first stage of the conflict. The issue start to emerge. Group start to form and informal discussion begin. What is the next step is high conflict stage. It is arise high conflict among the people. The discussion become heated. The emotionally intensity increase. The people often resort to personal attacks. So people are going to attack with among. So social interaction and litigations are important in here, as well as between this stage, mediation are most important. So what is the next step? It is post conflict level. Generally solve the conflict situation. So these three steps can be identified in the conflict in the community stage. So shall we discuss why should resolve conflict? So as far we know what is the conflict, what are the type of conflicts, then shall we discuss why should resolve the conflict. So number one, to come to an agreement that benefits all parties. So if we can resolve the conflict, it given benefits for all parties. Number two, understand more about those whose ideas, beliefs, and backgrounds may be different from others all, because normally we know human beings, they have different ideas, beliefs and background. So conflict is give platform to identify their ideas, beliefs and their backgrounds. Next one, to ensure that relationships with opponent continue and grow. So this is so important because we should create good relationship with the opponent to manage the conflict. If not, we can't manage the conflict. Next one, to find peaceful solution to difficult situation. So resolve of the conflict, it's given peaceful solution for all of the parties. Lasting agreements of addressing current and future challenges. So conflict is given the strength to address future and current challenges. So therefore, conflict is so important. As a community workers, we can understand as a better. So what are the strategies of conflict management or conflict management style? We call dual concern model of conflict management. It has been developed by Thomas Gilman. So there are two parts. The y-axis represents concern for others' interest, as well as x-axis represents concern for one's own interest. So based on these two parts, we call dual concern model of conflict management. So based on this model, we can discuss management style. Number one, avoid. So based on this strategy, there are low concern for both parties. It is given low concern for own interest, as well as it is given low concern for other interest. Then in here, the both parties can remove in the conflict situation. Next one is compete. So in here, high concern for own interest and it is given low concern for other interest. So this is so important when we are going to take quick action. Sometime during the community development project, community leaders need to take quick action. As example, in the middle part of the development project, they face some financial crisis and they need to cut off some activities. At that time, they can practice this one. They suddenly take the decision to cut off some activities and running their community development projects. Next one, accommodator. In here, it is low concern for own interest and high concern for others' interest. So in here, example, some community-based organization, they want to give more facilities to their community to protect of the particular community. Then they give more facilities, but it is not good as a community-based organization way. But however, they try to protect their community with providing more additional subsidies. Next one, compromise. It is the middle part. So in here, medium concern for own interest as well as medium concern for other interests. So in here, we can find win-win as well as loss-loss situation. The last one and the most proper one is a collaborate. In here, there are given high concern both parties. as it is given high concern for own interest as well as it is given high concern for others' interest. So in this strategy, we can define as a win-win situation. The both parties are satisfied, both parties win their ideas or their actions, but it is need more time to complete. So next one, people and organization can use a variety of formal means of resolving their disagreement. Neutral third party involved to assisting to conflict management process. Sometimes the third neutral party need to involve to manage the conflict situation. So what are the neutral party? Facilitator, promoter, attributor, or mediator. So based on these roles, we can divide into 4 common methods of conflict management, such as negotiation, mediation, attribution, and court litigation. So negotiation and mediation, the third party involved with the community members, and they meet with together and they are provide facilities to discuss the community, what are the conflict they are facing and how to resolve those things. But attribution and court litigation is more to some part of legal action. In most of villages, they have a special legal committee. So sometimes, as example, 2 farmers, they are facing some trouble about land use. Then this kind of conflict can move to the attribution committee, then they will give the result. So sometimes the attribution committee, they can't give the result for both of farmers. Then this case can move to the court for take legal action. So these mediations are so important when we are going to manage the conflict in community development. So last one, conflict management framework. So as a extension worker or community worker, we should have to clear idea about what is the conflict, what are the type of conflicts, and how to behave the conflict in the community, and what are the reasonable strategies to implement to minimize that kind of conflict. So this is the process. So number one, we should understand the conflict. So it is so important because without understanding conflict, we can't give a reasonable solution. So first, we should, or community should understand what is they are facing the conflict or problems. So next, after understanding conflict, next we can move to the communicate with the opposition. So as we know, conflict arises between 2 people or among the people. Then communication is the good tool to understand and to convey the idea between 2 peoples or among the people. So next step is brainstorm possible resolution. So after understand what is the conflict arise in the community, so then now we can identify what are the suitable or possible resolution to minimize that kind of conflict. So after identify possible resolution, we can categorize what are the alternatives can be applied to minimize that kind of conflict. So in here, it is given lot of alternatives. but we can't apply all kind of alternatives. Then we need to prioritize these alternatives. What are the most important? What are the not too much of important? And what kind of alternatives can be applied in the first stage? So after explore the alternatives, we can choose the best solution or resolutions based on the alternatives. So then in here we can choose this resolution we are going to apply first, this resolution we are going to apply in the second step, likewise. Next step is approval by the all parties. Now we have select the resolution, then those resolution should be approval by the all parties. If not, it is moved to a conflict among those parties. Therefore, those parties should approve this kind of resolution we can apply to resolve the conflict. The next step is implement by the all parties. So the all resolution we can implement in the community base. So after implementation, we need to follow up those steps for a succeed or for a conflict management in our community. So based on my presentation, so actually we should try to understand what is the conflict in community and what are the strategies that we can apply in community base to maintain our conflict situation. So this is my references, and before end my presentation, I would like to wish for all of you for a peaceful and happy trial. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahendra.
Okay, thanks, Prof.
So now I open to the floor to ask or to get more clarification from the presenter about this topic on conflict approach to community development. Any of you want to start first?
Hello, good morning. Hello, Mahinda.
Yes,
Sorry.
Amar? Yes, Amar?
I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you for the presentation. It is nice. As you said before, the conflict is a process and not yet an event, right?
Yes.
So, as a community development practitioner, for instance, we try to manage the process.
Yes.
But then, if the conflict that we have been trying to manage lead to violence, let's say like that, as a practitioner, what will you do? Will you just simply withdraw from the process, or you join yourself with the even with the violence?
Yes. Thanks, Amar. So based on my knowledge, I think we should manage conflict in the beginning stage before move to the violence stage. So is it
Hello?
hello?
Sorry, would you please repeat it? I can
So
hear your voice properly.
normally conflict is the process. So because we know when we are applying self-help approach or technical assistant approach, also process. So when we are going to apply self-help approach or technical assistant approach, normally people meet with together and they try to work with together, then it's create the conflict. So in this situation, we should try to understand what type of conflict may arise.
Mm.
If we can understand what kind of conflicts maybe arise when we are going to apply self-help approach, then we can give alternatives to minimize the that kind of conflict.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. They don't get Amar's question. Amar is asking, since conflict is a process, so if the process prolongs in the community while we are going to develop them, so how can we handle that? So more or less that is Amar's question. So Mahinda replied that we as the mediator or the facilitator, our role is to minimize conflict before it turns into fire. That's what Mahinda is saying. Mahinda, can you go back to your slide on the role of the community developer?
All this one, bro?
This one. Yep, this one. Okay, now these are the methods that among us as a community developer, we have to master our skill. The thing is that as a community worker, we are normally an outsider. Even community developer, community extension worker, normally we are an outsider. We came to serve the community. Yeah, maybe our hometown originally is from far away from the community that we serve. We are serving. So you must remember, you cannot take side. You cannot take side to the parties who are in the conflicting. We must keep up our neutrality. Neutral. Yeah, this is the good recipe to be a community worker. You cannot take side. You have to maintain neutral, and you have to keep up your objectivity. Even, well, this is very challenging for us. Sometimes we tend to take side for some reason or other. Now, if this happens, then we may not be a good arbiter and not a good mediator. If the other party perceive that you are not doing the correct way to handle conflict, then they will perceive negative on you. Once that happen, then it's very difficult for us to change or to delete their mindset. So these are the things that we need to be sensitive of. Let's say you are working in a watershed management, yeah, and the conflicting are 2 parties or 3 parties. Yeah. Let's say you are handling 2 parties conflicting. One group, they want water, and the other group, they don't want water. It's about water management, because maybe there are 2 groups of farmers cultivate different kind of crops. One, they need more water, and the other one, they need not to have water for some reason. So they are living side by side. And how are you to do with these 2 group of people? This is where your 4 roles as a facilitator, promoter, how to pronounce this, arbitrar, and also mediator, in which there are different methods that you can use. Negotiation, mediation, or to the utmost method is you go to the court. Go to the court if the matters serious and we fail to mediate the groups, then one of the group will bring the other group to the court. And you cannot just wash your hand if that thing happens, because you are in the community. So you may be called to witness whatever decision that the court want to make. Yeah. So that's where Amar put up the question, the issue. So if this thing happen, then we must be sensitive and try to burn the fire. Try to burn the quarrel before it get on with fire. Then you are in trouble. Okay, so based on what Mahendra have mentioned, we have to know the level of conflict, the source of conflict, and all the rest just now. Why? Because as to be a good facilitator or a good mediator or arbitrar, we must get to know the roots of the conflict. The roots of the conflict. That's why Mahendra is explaining to us just now, step by step, what cause conflict, level of conflict, and whatnot. So those are the fundamental of it. What his lecture today is, his talk today is for us to understand this character of conflict, the dimension of conflict, the characteristic of conflict. What else? He keep on mentioning that. Now, why is it important? Because this is where for us to take it as inputs for us to solve the issue, solve the problems. Codes, one of the conflict, source of conflict, maybe just now, is scarcity, not enough sources. Yeah, it can be a conflict. I think we have often, I think among extension worker, we often hear complaints from our farmers saying that the one group might not get enough fertilizer, and mention that the other group is getting extra fertilizer and they are not using it, they put it under the somewhere. So that's create a conflict within the same category of community, farmers. So when people report this to you, so how are you going to solve it? Just want to listen, no action taken, that was still. So you have to make investigation, you know, this kind of stuff. Yeah, though that one is based on perception. Yeah, one might perceive that the other group is getting more than the other group. It might not be a true story. You have to do investigation, and once you get the answer, you have to come back to the group of people and explain to them. This is to minimize conflict happen. Your role is to what? Is to tell the truth lah. It's difficult, you know, very difficult. And if that kind of accusation actually comes from your own department, that become another story. That is not conflict between two groups of farmers, but it is a conflict between you represent the organization, represent the change agent for that matter, and your clients. This is another big story. It's conflict. Conflict of different level of groups. You are the upper level because you are the change agent. You have your resources and everything, and then you have another group of peoples, your clients. Now, if these two groups conflict in a conflict situation, this is another big story, because this is a conflict of different level of groups. Again, here you have to minimize it. You have to get down to the people and ask, what are the grievances, what are the unsatisfactory towards you? Because you are going to stay in the village, in the community, in quite long to help them. And there are many cases, like this. If this happen, what will be the best solution is either you be transferred to somewhere else. Have you heard about this? Yeah, government officer transferred to another village for some reason. This is the upper level management to solve conflict between an officer that represent the department having a conflict with the clients or the community. So you cannot transfer the community. You have to transfer your men. This is at the managerial level of handling conflict, which Mahendra did not mention. And in reality, this, I didn't say rampant, is quite normal. It's quite normal. Yeah. You have to chase out your, well, it's a harsh word to say. You have to chase out your man from the village and to replace to another person. Yeah. So my second point, just explain it to you just now. The second source of conflict is what? It's about power. Different power. Yeah. The receiving end have less power. That is the community. And the hand that giving a skill, giving resources, those who have power. But be careful of using power. Even though we are the upper hand that giving assistance, giving money, giving skill, whatever, you said you have power, the recipient, they don't have power, you are wrong. You are wrong. Then you have to go to the basic theoretical about power. Yeah. I bring you to another level of looking at power. Power will only exist when there is resistance. Ni teori lah, teori said. Power only exists when there is resistance to power. Otherwise, how big you are, how strong you are, if people don't resistant to your power, so you can't see power. Understand? Power. So, and also some argue that power is everywhere. Not only in the hand of those who are having skill, in the hand of those who having resources. Some people argue on that. It's not necessary like that. Power can also at the level. Power can also be possessed by the low-level individuals. That you see they are powerless, but actually they have power. So some argue in that way. That's why comes the term that power only in existence when there is resistance to power. So I give you one simple example. Yeah. If you have a family, if you got married, and you have your kids, yeah. Let's say the age of 2 years, 1 year, yeah. And you are the daddy. I'm referring to Ahmad, for example. Yeah. Ahmad is the father, and he has one daughter or one boy at the age of 2 or 6 months. Let's put 6 years. 6 months. Ahmad is, how old is you, Ahmad? 17?
Around 12 years ago, yes, sir.
10 years ago.
12 or 13 years ago.
So you can guess his age about 27 ke, 37 ke. Okay. Let's say he's 37 now. I don't think that's old. And then he has a kid at the age of 6 months. Now, physically, we say that Ahmad has power. And socially, we say Ahmad has more power than the boy, than the kid of 6 years. 6 months. 6 months. Okay? But then, in the middle of the night, if the boy
Crying.
age of 6 months cry, dia menangis, crying, because of hungry or some other matter. So, can Ahmad just keep quiet?
No, it is impossible.
Impossible. So, well, you can give reason for that. As a father, you have to take care of your kid, blah, blah, blah. Fine. But then actually, that is the small boy is exercising his power. onto Amar to get up in the middle of the night to get my nappy change or to make a bottle of milk for me. See? Now, that is where some people say power is everywhere. It's not in the hands of those who you think that they are more, they are stronger, they have more resources and whatnot. That's why in community development, as well as relate to it, extension worker, yeah, sometimes we fail to understand our clients. We fail to understand our clients. We think that we have everything in our hand. We have a good technology, good innovation, and we force farmers to adopt our technology, to adopt our innovation without doing some homework to educate them first. You totally take a quite a drastic way to introduce a new technology, new hybrid or whatever, and you ask them to change what they have been using or what they have been exercise, for the past 20 years, 30 years. So you cannot simply exercising your rights onto them. If you simply do that, then you are not managing conflict, you are creating conflict. So these are another way of looking at this approach. Just now Mahinda is saying the conflict approach to community development. What he have mentioned to you is to be careful about this conflict. What are the sources of conflict? The level of conflict. Who are in conflict? Who are the the stakeholders that always in conflict, and how to manage it? But I give you another scenario. You yourself, as the change agent, is the conflict maker sometimes. Be careful of that. Be careful of that. Instead of you playing the role to be a good facilitator, a good negotiator, mediator, but sometimes we forget that role. We are the person who create conflict. And this happen tanpa disedari, without we didn't realize sometimes we actually create conflict. I'm referring to extension agent. Let's say I'm a farmer. I've been using this X hybrid since my father's paddy. There's so many type of paddy in Malaysia, but in my area, I know I'm living here for ages. I know the type of soil, the acidity of the soil, blah, 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 blah. And I've been cultivating this type of paddy, and the yield for 1 hectare is 500 kilos. Yeah, and then these 500 kilos, you can serve a family of 5 for 6 months. Well, I'm not good in this calculation thing. I'm just giving you an example. And then Moon and Mahinda go to the farmers and ask them to change the hybrid, and you are introducing your new hybrid, new paddy that you have planted in somewhere else. It can produce, the production is triple than what I'm getting now, which is good. Then you some kind of forcing for the next season, use this new hybrid. Now, do you think my group of people can simply listen to you? You know, because if I fail on that season, that means I'm not going to feed my family for the next 6 months. If I fail. If you keep insisting the way, I'm talking this approach, we are talking about approach, kan? Now, if you keep on insisting, for us to cultivate your new habit, then this is where that I say you are conflict maker. You fail, you are using a conflict approach to develop the community because you are in a forcing mode. Then this is where in your field, Moon and Mahinda, in your field, that teach you the stages of convincing people, kan, when and how to use new innovation. I'm pretty sure you have steps for it. Stages. A good essential worker, you should be exposed to the series of techniques, how to convince people, rather than you approach people that people see it as you are having conflict with me. That's why in extension worker, you have the so-called result demonstration. Kan? Lagi satu apa demonstration? I forgot. There's so many techniques.
Plot demonstration.
Yes, Prof. Demonstration. Correct.
Plot demonstration.
Demonstration,
Yes, Prof. Demonstration.
Demonstration. That is method demo. Not only that, maybe yeah. In fact, maybe you did not force the farmers to completely change the what's it called, the using the new hybrid, but then you ask them to introduce a small plot first. Let's say they have I don't know how many acres. A smallholder, they have 5 hectares, for example. Okay, you just request them to plant only 1 hectare. That one, the so-called demonstration method. They have 5 hectare. 4 hectare, they use their old hybrid that they normally use, and then a small 1 hectare with the new hybrids. This is a way how to minimize conflict. Yeah. So there are various techniques. Some would say, you raise their awareness first, explain to them, bring them to some other areas that have been used this technology and stay with them for 1 month with the new family. You remember this the system of 2L last time, visit and learning. In Malaysia we call it 2L system. L is one is lawatan, mean visiting, and another L is latihan, it is training. Yeah, this is one of the old method in extension work last time in the 70s. Yeah, you bring your group of people to another village and to see how well they use the DU hybrids or new technology and how much they earn. Bring them, visit to the place and stay with them. And during the your stay, the host will teach you how to handle things, their experience. So you are sharing. And then this group of people, they bring back to their village and then copy whatever they have learned. Follow whatever they have introduced to them. So just follow. This is one way of what they call to convince people, to convince your group that you want to develop. Farmers, yeah. So this is a part of managing conflict also, yeah, in community development. Have you heard about this phrase? What do you call? Seeing is believing. Yeah, seeing is believing. So you see and then you believe. So that's why this approach that I mentioned, you bring them to the field so that they can see and then they can believe. What are the good things using a new technology, for example? Yeah. So these are among. So Amun, what's that? Amun say what? Ambil one plot daripada tanah petani yang testing guna new hybrid dan tunjuk keberhasilan. Yep. This is what I'm saying just now. Yeah, plot demonstration. Yes. So these are among the ways how to minimize conflict for extension agents. Yeah. What else? So any question? Can you turn back your slide, Mahendra?
Okay, Prof.
Move backward.
Backward, no, Prof?
Huh? Stop.
This one?
Okay. See this one. All right. So this is a good chart, indicators for us to place ourselves in this conflict management. Where we can position ourselves in doing things. Yeah. On the y-axis, those are the concern of others' interests. On the x-axis, that is our interest. Obviously, if you work from the government sector, yeah, if you work from the government sector, if you are a change agent, if you put more emphasis in your work towards your interest, towards your organizational interest, towards of your department interest, and very less on the community interest, then you fall into the competing blocks. You give high interest, in your department, what you want, what your department wants, but you just don't bother about your clients. So when you work, actually you are in the competing modes. When you work in the competing modes, that you are using the conflict approach that destroy in terms of energy, times to develop the community, because you are always in you want to win all the time. But the best one is actually if you can collaborate. This is quite challenging lah. This is quite challenging. In which, if you are very lucky, what you want to aim for the changes in the community in line with your interest or your department interest. Same interest. For example, I give you a very stupid example for us to easily remember. For example, community is any community that rational and logic, they don't want to live in a good economic situation. Most of them, isn't it? A rational man will always want to be richer or wealthier. Yeah. So let's say that is the interest of your community. They want to live a good livelihood. And then your department is also going to give such input that have same interest with the community. So that means you are helping each other. That's why you can collaborate. So high concern of your own interest, because you want to make the life of the community economically stable. That is your interest, and the community also well accepting because it is within their interest. So that's completely different, totally different if you are competing and you are collaborating. Other than that is you accommodating. This is quite challenging. If you accommodate too much, sometimes you might not achieve your target, your own organization target, because you keep on accommodating to meet the needs of the community. You want to look good to the community, but you are not achieving your target. So you just working in a very accommodative style. Yes, this can reduce conflict to much a lesser level, but you might not get what your KPI for your organization. You must remember, we are government staff. Unless you are activists, that's different thing. Even though you work as volunteers, you are representing your NGOs, your organization. Your organization, they have their mission, vision. When you have mission, vision, that means you have target. Even though you claim yourself as NGOs. So you have to hold your flagship of your NGOs. And you are working with people. If you keep on doing the accommodative style, well, it's okay. As a community, I'm very pleased because you meet my needs, but you might not hit your goal. So these are the things that you have to manage, in managing conflict in general. Okay, now the so-so situation, win-win situation, is compromising. In the middle there. Yeah. Compromise means 50-50 lah. 50-50. Yeah. And again here, it's not easy to get 50-50. You have to depend also to the peoples the type of people that you are working with. There are so many type of people, different character, different group, different character, So the best, if you don't want to be in conflict, so you can compromise. And the last one is the block avoid. you have a low in your interest and also low in the interest of the community. This one you didn't go anywhere. If you stuck in this block, then there's something wrong lah. Both party can't go anywhere. Yeah, got stuck. So these are among the what you call you can think where you want to be where you want to position yourself in helping to develop the community within the realms of conflict approach. Okay. Okay. Any question? If you don't have question, I have. Technical person like farmers most likely prefer to see first, then they will believe what we say. Betul lah tu. It's very true. That's why I say, you have to show them first. Seeing is believing. That's why Steve Jobs. You remember Steve Jobs? Those are using iPads. During his life, last I think a few years ke months before he passed away. Do you still remember where he introduced the first iPhone? The way that he introduced it, the way he represent himself on the stage. It's about what? It's about demonstration. And then you see also this what brand? There's so many new brand telephone.
Samsung,
Oppo.
Oppo.
Yeah. So before they put it on the market, they put I think so huge amount of money to do the advertisement. For what? This one you have to learn psychology. Kan? Why they must put the actress using that phone? Why can't they put Amar to be the model to introduce the new brand? Why? This is again.
It will not be sold.
It's marketing strategy. Seeing is believing. You twist the advertisement is twisting our perception to indoctrinate actually. Well, it's a very harsh word, to indoctrinate to us that Oppo is good than Samsung and whatnot. And once the company successfully cheat you using their advertisement, then you are in it. So this is what Moon is saying there. The farmer also prefer to see first. See, touch, smell, taste, or our 5 sense, then they believe it. Yeah, they believe it. And nowadays, with regards to, not nowadays, this has been a long debate. It's a polemic. Yeah, it started in 1950s, even late 50s. In community development, which are you going to focus? It's a great polemic, even until today. Yeah, in community development, which are you going to focus? Are you going to focus on the product, or are you going on focus on the process? Product or process? Giving poor people a fish, we have heard this Chinese proverb, giving a poor a fish, they will eat today and they can finish it by today. But if you give him a rod for fishing fish, they can sustain for a long time. What does it mean here? It means that if you give a fish, you are focusing on the product orientation. You give a fish, you're hungry, you're poor, give money, give everything, give subsidies, all sort of things. I think among the non-Malaysia, you are familiar about all this jargon, subsidies, programs, assistant, technical assistant, all these peralatan, fishing rod, fertilizer, all sort of inputs for agriculture. Government give. This is what we call subsidies. Now, these are product orientation. You giving, the thing is ready, it's a product. Now, just like giving a fish to the poor. Now, giving a fishing rod to a poor, they will learn how to catch fish. These are the process orientation. The process orientation, how to catch a fish, what baits you need to use, when you want to catch a fish, what is the right time? Is it in the afternoon? Is it in the morning? Or is it the dawn? So you have to teach them slowly. They learn slowly. Then this is what we call process. But it takes a long time for the poor to get the skill of catching a fish. You understand? So these are the two different orientations. So in that process also, you can get conflict. Where is the conflict? Conflict in yourself first. Which one are you going to introduce? And this depends on the type of community that you're working. If your community is less patient, so this kind of people are the group of people that would prefer product orientation. Everything that they want to see is in an instant, in a short time. If I use this hybrid of maize, can I get the product within 2.5 months rather than the old maize is 3 months or 5 months to produce? So these are product orientation. So now if these things crop up in your work, that means you are throughout your working, you are facing conflict with your clients. So these are the things that I would like to share with you in reality, about these conflicts. First, just now, I introduced to you, sometimes we are the conflict maker. We force people. That means something wrong with our style of approaching, doing development work. And I'm pretty sure, as I say, that each discipline where you are, there must be a way to minimize conflict. Similarly, just now, most of my example I'm giving to this, I'm sharing the the extension agents works. Discipline. But as far as community development is concerned, it's almost the same. If you work with the fishery departments, you are also an extension agent. Yeah. Because our work is to develop people. In community development, the rule of thumb is that it's almost the same. You have to know your people, what you want to do with them, what are their interests, and then you introduce what you want to bring to them, what you want them to follow you. If, let's say, what they want and what you want to bring to make changes in their life is on the same pathway, yeah, you will meet somewhere. There is a meeting point. Sometimes in doing this work, sometimes from at the beginning, it seems you go parallel. You go parallel, as though there is no meeting point from the beginning. But then somehow, throughout the process, you can see you are meeting somewhere. Then you can be happy. That means you are minimizing conflict for some reason. That's why I'm looking to this chart. But if you, from the beginning until the end, you don't convert, that means you never meet. That means you are, all the time, you are having a conflict somewhere because you never meet. The client's needs and your needs doesn't meet somehow. And worse still, I tell you what, if this process of helping the people keep on going parallel, there is no convergence. That means first you are along the way, you are in conflicting mode between two parties, you and your client, because never meet. But if you meet somewhere, then you are successful, at least to bring them together, working with you, and then will follow by the output and later the outcome. Yeah, input, throughput, output, and outcome. Community development, we want to see the outcome, not only the output. Of course, it must be a throughput, the process. If you did not go through the process, quickly jump into output, then community development program or initiative cannot be sustained. Cannot be sustained. Okay? So, I like this diagram very much. Easy to understand. So you can accommodate yourself. I mean, put yourself, which you just like a cursor moving into these 5 blocks. Just like making a computer, you can go, which block you can evaluate yourself. A void block is a very frustrating block. Well, I didn't say you are totally a failure, but you can't do much about the people that you are going to help, because it's very low interest, and you're also low interest in you, and also low interest in the parties that you want to assist. That means not much can be done lah. So you have to be smart enough to push yourself and your people moving towards compromise. If you are in the mode of compromise, I'm telling you what, you are going to in the verge of meeting together at the end of the road of the process. That means once you achieve the collaborate, that is the super duper position. That means less conflict, you hit your interest of your company or your mission of your NGOs or departments. At the same time, you'll be able to improve the people's well-being or whatever that you are aiming for your clients. It's not easy to make change of the people. Your conflict everywhere. So any question? I like this. I want to capture this. Slide. No question? Okay, if you don't have question, I want to pose one question to you. Why you call it conflict approach in community development? You know, last two sitting that we have, technical approach and self-help approach, this is the approach that we use to bring people together and to make change with the people or on the people. We make change, for example, in self-help approach. In self-help approach, we use the approach to bring people together to identify their problem, to decide what they want, and then they come together and do it together, and then they achieve what they want at the end of the day. In technical approach, which is more bottom-up approach. Technical approach is top-down approach. Yeah, top-down approach. I mean, we have resources, we have the skill, we have all the equipments. Yeah, we bring down to the people, we teach them, and then they benefit from what we have given to them. So we use that approach. But in this topic, why we use a negative words? Conflict approach to community development. Are we saying that, hey, let's use this, let's make a conflict with the community, and then by doing conflicting approach, we can change the community? As though it's like that, isn't it? Because the title is Community Approach to Community Development. As though we use this conflict approach, let's be conflict with the people, and we can do change. Anyone can respond? Do you understand my question?
I think the conflict will initiate people to move better.
Asal cakap by initiating conflict, people can move better.
When they have conflict, they tend to be more better. Because the conflict itself.
So in other words, Azhar, you are saying that let's make a conflict with community that we want to develop, then they will move better, they will get things done better. Ini terbalik ni.
Due to the conflict itself will make the people try to improve, try to change.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Oh,
Maybe when the issue rises,
repeat Mon.
tak dengar. Bila ada isu yang dibangkitkan, maksudnya isu tu konflik lah. Jadi bila ada isu, that's why jadi community punya problem tu diketahui.
Let's anyone before we pass to Mahindra to answer.
I think
Cannot hear Emily.
Emily, please press the mic button first before you speak. Okay.
that's okay. I think in a community, we use the conflict approach and then solve the conflict, solve the problem. Then like a kind of a reform in the community. Then it can develop better. That's
Okay.
mhm.
Can you explain more, Emily?
It's like in the in the philosophy, when develop some a period, then it will occur some conflicts, some problems, and have some situations don't suitable for the hours, and some method don't suitable for the situation now. Then we make some change and have when we make some change, then we will have conflict. Then use the conflict approach. Then we can make some change and solve the problem, and our community development will enter a new period. It's
Okay.
my opinion.
Yeah. Anyone else?
In my perspective, as Prof explained to us that power is everywhere. I mean, not only the dominating group has the power, but also the less dominating group also has the same. So in this context, conflict approach is required to exercise the power. So by only doing that, then not only members of community can maintain the issue, but then also will definitely share the what they have.
Okay. Maina, can you move your slide?
This one, Prof.
Move forward.
Forward.
No. I mean,
Backward, no, Prof. Backward.
Backward. This one backward, eh? Forward.
Forward. Is this?
Forward some more.
This is the last one.
Oh, no.
Wait, Prof.
Much earlier.
This one, Prof.
Much earlier.
This one. Is this, Prof? Hello?
No, much earlier.
So this is the first slide.
This one towards the end.
End one? Sorry, last one, Prof? Is it last one? This one?
From the beginning. See, from
Sorry, Prof?
Okay.
Sorry?
Can you go to the first slide? Going to
First slide. So, okay, wait, Prof.
The first one.
So this,
I think you made the changes that doesn't appear in our screen.
Oh.
sorry, Prof?
You have then not appear in our screen. We are in the reference.
Thing.
Sorry, Prof.
No, it's not moving at all. Mahendra,
Yes,
your
Prof?
slide is not moving.
Oh, I see. I'll try, Prof.
I try to close first your slide and then reopen.
This now it's okay, Prof? Amar, now it's okay.
No.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay.
Now it's moving. Next.
This one, Prof? This one?
No.
This one?
Okay, yang this one.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Right. So, now, why this assumption is important, yeah? Now, even though the title is conflict approach in community development, it doesn't mean that literally we use this conflict approach to make changes in the community. It explained in the other way around. What does it mean is that in doing community works to develop the community, there are so many conflicting things in the community. So many, level of conflict in the community. Yeah, that's why Mahendra have explained to us different level, different cause of conflict, different domain of conflict in the community. So, for you to make changes in the community, you have to know all this conflict. The level of conflict, the domain of conflict, what people fighting for, why they don't want come together, what are the issues around the community. So you use these issues, understand these issues, why people conflict, the dimension of conflict and whatnot, to develop the people. That means, it doesn't mean that you use a conflict approach to develop people. No, it's not a straightforward like that as what in self-help and as what in technical assistant approach. But you have to have a knowledge why people are conflicting, at what level they conflict and what not. You use this information, you use this knowledge, you use this information when you want to do your work at the community level. Understand? So that's why this is the title is community approach to community approach in community development. It is not using conflict to develop people. If you use conflict approach as a tool to develop people, the people will should do that. Am I right?
Would you please say again, Prof?
Now, this whole class today, what Mahendra have explained to you, and which I also have added new things, three main points at the end just now, is that telling us what is conflict, where the source of conflict, the level of conflict, the domain of conflict in the community. So, when you have this idea, it is a information for you to develop the community. Why people sometimes they don't want to follow you? Oh, because they are in conflicting with you. Then you ask yourself again, which part are they conflicting with me as a community agent? Which part they are refusing to accept me? Because, as I say to you, in conflict, we are dealing with power. Power only in existence when there is resistance to power. You as the change agent, you are in power, literally speaking. But sometimes, somehow, people don't want to listen to you. At that point in time, they are exercising their power onto you. When that happens, you are in the state of conflicting. Now, if you are in the state of conflicting for a long period of time, you cannot go anywhere. There is no collaboration. There is avoiding. There is what? Even there is no what? Just now the correlating or what?
Collaborate. Accommodate.
You are at the avoiding all the time.
Mm.
So that's why the Mahindra showed the avoiding block just now. So how to go from that? That's why I say, if you have all this understanding about conflicting, so you can check back and correct the mistake. Then you have to be a good facilitator to yourself, to the people, to the community. You must be a good demonstrator. You must be a good consciousness rising people. You must be a good negotiator. If you are in conflict, you have to do all these things. So that's what it is, this today's class. In other words, we are not using literally conflict approach to make change in the people. But you have to know what is conflict, the notion of conflict, the inside story of conflict, so that you have a better understanding in working with people so that you minimize conflict. So this is the answer to my question.
Okay.
It's slightly different from the last two of our class. It's a very straightforward. Yeah. I give you one good example. I think this one, I don't know whether cut across nationwide. I mean, it's almost 4 something already. Now, I think I've mentioned this to you in our first meeting or second meeting, or if not with this group, some other groups. In the olden days, I don't know, you all are new generation, yeah. During my days, you know this, what do you call this? Midwife. You know midwife? Okay. In the olden days, we have traditional midwife. And when, there are so many problems. If you get your baby being served by this traditional midwife during the delivery. Yeah, there is antenatal problem and so on and so on. So the child mortality rate is high in the olden days. So there's come the government midwifery with a modern ways of delivering babies, and whatnot. And this midwife, the government midwives, will come to be placed in the community, stay in the community. There is a special building for them. We call it, in last time, is a community nurse clinic, something like that. It's community clinic. We call it community clinic, and there is a nurse stay there. The government nurse, the government midwife. And at the same time, there is the traditional midwife. So they are in conflicting. During my time, in the late 50s and early 60s, conflict. And normally the suffering part is the new midwife, the modern midwife. Because they are new, very young. School leavers attending 3 years or 2 years training, and then come to the village. It's not their village, some other people's village, to serve the community. But then the community is well versed already, close already to the traditional midwife. So they are in a conflict. Yeah, the traditional midwife, they are the very stable midwife. They have been served for the community for much longer than the young modern midwife. They are in a conflict. To reduce the mortality rate among the delivery babies, newborn babies, I mean. So they are in conflict. So these are the situation. So if this thing happen, this new young modern midwife, they are in the block of avoidance. Remember the chart just So they are in conflict. So how can she make herself more acceptable to the public to reduce the conflict? So if this is the importance of our class, they have to know what is source of conflict and blah 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 blah, and then what he should do to improve herself to be accepted by the community. Understand? How? So they have to know what is source of conflict, which level are they now? Is she conflicting with the traditional midwife or with the community, with the mothers, with the parents, with the pregnant woman? Which level? They have to know. They have to get to the root cause slowly, one by one, and then if she can handle that properly, later people accept her, then the outcome is that the mortality rate, the neonatal death rate can be reduced. You got my point? I think this last example give a synopsis of what this topic is all about. In other words, we are not using literally the conflict approach to make change on the people in the development process. It's not. Faham ke? Dah kering dah tekak ni.
Okay.
You understand? I say to the in bahasa, I have explained well, and I am thirsty now. I hope you all understand.
Yes, Paul, we understand.
Yes, Prof.
Mana si ni tak keluar Si
Novi.
Novi, oh dia kat ujung sana. Alright. Okay.
Yes, Prof.
No more question.
No, Prof. No, Prof.
I hope you understand my explanation just now. It's a good presentation. Apa ni? Siapa nama ni? Mainda. You have give a good induction set, we call it. Yeah.
Thanks.
You explain to us what is the conflict and the level of conflict, source of conflict, yeah, dimension of conflict. But you have not explained it when I asked the question just now. Yeah. Are you going to use this conflict approach to develop the people? That is the point that you have not make a linkage between your title and your title of apa tu? What is it? Conflict approach in community development. So I don't want your friends to understand it literally. Hey, let's use conflict approach to develop the people. There's no such thing. Once we have a conflict with people, we can't do much. We cannot do much. Yeah. So I think in your wrap up later when you want to submit, I think you can insert what I've just said. How the linkages between understanding the notion of what you have explained from the beginning and how to apply this in community development. That is the linkages where you miss to explain to us. That's why I ask you all the question, so that you don't have a misinterpretation. We are not using a conflict approach literally as what we understood it, as what Mahindra have explained to us, but to have the knowledge, information, why community difficult to be, sometimes difficult to accept us. Not only us, sometimes they are conflicting each other also. Yeah. The first explanation that I give to you, the watershed management, for example, just now, the first explanation. So we have to, as a community developer, how we want to minimize the conflict so that both parties have a win-win situation to make use of the water to do for their cultivation. Those kind of things. So if you all understood what I'm trying to say, then I'm happy. So this question from Amar. So can we say that we use conflict approach to community development does not mean to create conflict among the members of community? Yes. Instead, we gather all information about the domain, the roots, and the level of conflict with the community that you're working with, and later use all of them to correct or mediate the conflict to the most beneficial state within the community. Yes, a good conclusion. A good conclusion. I think Amar got my point. He put in a very layman's term. I think this chat we can copy the chat, I think. If you use Zoom, we can save the chat. But I don't know here in WebEx, I'm not pretty sure. Okay, Amar, a good conclusion for this?
Thank you, Prof.
Okay, with that, that's all from me today. I wish you all a happy Raya. But as I said, it's a quite, I don't want to say weird Raya. It's a different form of Raya.
Emily.
Sorry to Mahinda and apa nama dia? Emily. I thought your first year in Malaysia, you can enjoy our open house tradition for celebrating our Eid Mubarak. But for this year, unfortunately, because of COVID, so we cannot. We just have a crowd among our family members only. Even our relative also, we understood that we are not going to meet him or her, and they also are not coming to meet us in our house. It's quite, for never mind, maybe we can have some other days to be together. With that, thank you very much. Happy Raya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and goodbye to all. See you. It depends, yeah. Please keep up with the new announcement by the university. If I have, I will share with you. Take care.
Thank you, Prof.
And
Okay,
Thank you,
thank you,
Prof.
Prof.
Thank you, Mahendra.
Thank you, thank
Thank you.
you.
Selamat Hari Raya, Prof.
Thank you. Same to you all.
Selamat Hari Raya, everyone.
Okay,
Thank you.
Amar, I want
Bye-bye.
your help. Amar,
Yeah?
can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, I can hear you.
So I want to some help how to record this one.